Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@usaprepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set, cocked, locked, blissed? Dr. Shealy, are you blissed?
Yes.
Class, Alex is engineering the broadcast in Minnesota. Thank you so much, Alex, for your excellence in engineering. Dr. Shealy, do you have anything that you'd like to start with today?
Well, I'm still on my roll about fluoride. There's a book that I just found. It lists 50 reasons why you shouldn't use it.
Just 50? It's just
50.
Short book.
Yeah, and it lists that only 30 to 50,000 deaths every year because of fluoride, among other things. 30 to 50,000 every year. Now, think about that. We've had this poison for 60-plus years. So that's a heck of a lot of Americans who've been killed because of fluoride.
So what do we do, Dr. Shealy? Who do we take aim at?
Well, every city that fluoridates water and the American Dental Association, every dentist in the country, and the FDA. They're all responsible. And the EPA.
Mm-hmm. Well, I remember taking aim at one individual in Springfield, Missouri. What I did when I was on KWTO AM 560, the big flamethrower in Springfield, Missouri, same station you're on, I remember calling City Hall saying, I want to talk to who's in charge of fluoride. And I got passed around and around and around. Nobody would take responsibility for saying, that's me. I did it. I'm in charge. Nobody. They sent me to the water department. They sent me all over. Finally, in frustration, I figured the only guy that will make anything happen would be the city manager. So I got his phone number, and I gave out his phone number every day for months. And I got hauled into the front office of the radio station because they got so many complaints from City Hall that I was tying up their phone lines by giving out Greg Burris's phone number. And I would say things like, he poisoned you, he poisoned me, he poisoned our children, he poisoned our parents with fluoride. And if you went to any restaurant in Springfield, Missouri, they served city water, and you will be poisoned, or you have been poisoned, by drinking that water. What ultimately happened was I got released from being on the air for taking aim at City Hall. That's how it works. Because
it's no better now. I mean, I've had 2 of my radio shows on it, and I didn't even get a call, not even a phone call, let alone a note from anybody who's interested. I mean, people have been dumbed down so much, I think they've all had a frontal lobotomy.
So you've talked about fluoride on the air. Now, I know for a fact that the 2 most popular radio broadcasts when I was on KWTO were yours and mine. We were, believe it or not, I heard this from the broadcast engineer, not the guy who would sit in the studio with you and me. I'm talking about the guy who was in charge of the computers, the towers, that kind of thing. They told me that your show and my show are the largest audience above Rush Limbaugh on KWTO. That's what we were told. That's what I was told. So what you're saying, I'm not trying to brag, class. I'm just trying to give you a feel for the listenership of that particular radio station. So when Dr. Shealy's on the air, people would call, and I've seen him on the air. I've been in the studio with him, and call after call after call after call, all the full hour, nonstop calls. Nonstop. From the second he said, I'm Dr. Shealy and you can be on the air, boom, call would be coming in, and he would just take call after call. So it's not like nobody's listening, but you're right. Something has happened where the audience does not pay attention to fluoride. It doesn't. But it did at one time, but not anymore. I don't know the answer, Dr. Shealy, but I did get your email. I did get your MP3. I'm going to send it on to Ron Gibson and ask him if he can post that as well on YouTube. It's a very short, just a few minute audio in Dr. Shealy's voice about the dangers of fluoride. So that'll be on USA Prepares on YouTube on Ron Gibson's internet channel, probably today or tomorrow. So I just wanted to mention that, Dr. Shealy. You're right. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what the answer is.
Each person has to fend for him or herself and avoid it as well as they can, because it is poison, period. And in another 20 years, this is the thing that bothers me most about it, is if we don't stop it within 20 years, there won't be any children, there won't be any grandchildren, there won't be any great-grandchildren, because every American male will be infertile. We already know that the fertility rate has dropped from 150 million to 40 million. And when it gets down to 20 million, we're infertile. So at the rate it's going, somewhere between 10 and 20 years from now, there will be no male fertility in this country.
Class, I hope you heard that. We're going down. We're going down in so many ways, and this one is preventable. Absolutely preventable. If you have your own well, you probably don't have too much fluoride in it. But if you're drinking city water, you probably do. There's only a few.
According to the Internet, well water in this country now has 37% as much fluoride as city water. It's been put into, it evaporates. It comes back down in the rain. So it's almost as, as prevalent as Roundup.
So my advice to you would be to get a water filtration system for all your drinking water. However, that does not prevent you from absorbing fluoride from your shower water through your skin, right, Dr. Shealy?
Well, fortunately, it's not as easily absorbed through the skin as chlorine, but it's still poison.
All right. Anything else you have for us before I go on a rant?
I'm ready for yours.
Okay. Dr. Shealy, I believe, in class, I believe we have lost our understanding of what being polite is.
Mm.
When I grew up, I learned that you don't call someone before 9 o'clock in the morning. And I learned that you don't call someone after 9 o'clock in the evening. You don't do that. So the only time, the window for calling someone is between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m., not before and not after. Well, since people have cell phones in their pockets, they seem to have lost the concept of being polite. They pick up their phone and they call whomever they want, whenever they darn well feel like it. And it's got me really, really annoyed. And I'll tell you why. Because it's not just the phone calls all day and all night long. It's not just that. It's not that people wake us up. I mean, that's a big part of it, and it's annoying because I really want to sleep when I'm sleeping. I don't want to be bothered by phone ringing for nonsensical reasons when I'm sleeping. I really don't. I've got things to do, and when I'm on the tractor, I need to pay full attention. When I'm using equipment, I need to pay full attention. I don't have a cell phone. I'm not distracted. I'm paying full attention. So I do need some sleep. So just because other people haven't been sleeping doesn't mean they have the right to bother me or my family. Now, in our house, we have a traditional 1950s, 1960s style house. We have a landline, and we have telephones in various rooms. So when one phone rings, they all ring. So when one person decides to call, and just because they're bored, and at any time, all the phones ring. Now, other people in the house could be sleeping. But who cares about that, right? Because we have a me-first society. We don't care about other people. We just care about ourselves. And the millennials don't think about landlines because they don't have them. They have their own phone. So when you call their number, their phone is the only one that rings. Not 4 or 5 phones ring, just theirs. So they have no concept of what this is like. Well, another thing that we were taught is you don't call people at work because they're working. Somebody is paying someone to be at work, and they're supposed to be working. They're not supposed to be texting, tweeting, or answering their personal phone calls. They're supposed to be working. Well, but we don't do that anymore because I found that when I am in line to make an appointment, let's say a doctor's appointment, schedule a routine visit, I find that the people behind the desk are on the phone taking personal phone calls. Or if I'm at a government office, there are people on their cell phones taking personal phone calls. They are interrupted by these phone calls when they're supposed to be working. Well, actually, they're supposed to be helping me and people like me who are customers and patients and clients. But they're interrupting us, our commerce, with their own personal phone calls. I object to it. I was at Sam's Club last week, and I was buying laundry detergent. So I looked for the shortest line. I found the shortest line. There's only one gal, middle-aged gal in front of me, and she's checking out. And so I get in line, a couple people get behind me, and then I realize she's on the phone. She's on the phone in the checkout. She's hardly paying attention to what she's doing, and then when she's all done, she stands there, doesn't move out of the way, doesn't get out of the checkout aisle because she's on the phone, oblivious to everything around her. I object to that. I object to being at a stoplight in an intersection. I look to the left, look to the right, look behind me, look in front of me. Half the people are on the phone, either texting, watching movies on their phone, or talking on their phones. It's unacceptable. It's dangerous. They're not paying attention. I was talking to my physician. She had a sign in her examination room, no cell phones. I talked to another doctor. He has a sign, no cell phones. Now, the doctors have decided that they've had it with patients getting interrupted, their doctor's appointment, that 7 minutes getting interrupted by phone calls coming in, and these stupid patients take the phone calls. What's wrong with them? What's happening is doctors are walking out saying, reschedule. Good for them. We'll be right back with Dr. Shealy. Shealy's with us, normshealy.com, NORMSHEALY.com, normshealy.com. Dr. Shealy, the reason I mention this is not just because I'm annoyed. I mean, I am, but that's not the only reason. I believe that these cell phones are literally damaging our ability to learn. You mentioned fluoride can take us down just by the consumption of fluoride. I believe that we're being taken down by cell phones because and there's medical reasons why I'm bringing this up, and I'd like your medical opinion as to what to do about it. I believe we're damaging our brains. I don't believe we can concentrate as we used to because we are used to being interrupted every few minutes at work by our cell phones, our personal phone calls and texts and tweets and so forth. And if you look at television today in movies, the average screen shot, the length of a scene is 5.4 seconds because our attention span is so short. If they're any longer, we'd get bored. And if we're not being interrupted, we are looking at our phones for how come we haven't been interrupted.
You're right.
So, and I think that people are so lonely that they need that reassurance that someone still is thinking about them, someone still loves them because they send them that text. Did you see my dog? Did you see me and my dog? Was that cool? Did you like it? Did you like the picture of me and my dog? I mean, really? And that's where we are today. That's what's important. It used to be that people would collect things. Like I like reading books. I like collecting books. I like going to stores where they sell books that nobody wants because people can't wait to get rid of their books, and they sell them for 50 cents or $1. So I just keep buying these books. I love them. So I'm collecting things, but the millennials, they don't collect things. They collect how many likes they get. I got so many likes. I'm so excited. I feel so good because people like me. Really? I don't do that. I really don't do that. I'm not interested in that. So because of the cell phone, I think that's another reason why I believe we're going down, because we can't concentrate anymore, because our attention span has been damaged by the cell phone industry. What do you think, Dr. Shealy?
Well, you're right on, of course. I mean, I think you and I don't have to worry about it. And in fact, I don't have to worry about being awakened at night because I don't have a phone in my bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
I will not take the chance of somebody calling me. In fact, I don't answer the phone after 7 o'clock in the evening.
Well, that was what I was going to ask you. How do you do it? Because we don't have a cell phone. We don't have a cell phone, and we don't have a phone in our bedroom. But we do have phones throughout the house. And so, for example, we have a multi-story house. So there are phones on each level. Well, the problem is they ring all over the place. So when people call, during the normal sleep time, it rings all over the house, and everybody gets awakened. And because we think that why would somebody call late at night unless it's an emergency? So we go and look. But the new plan for us here at the house is you get one chance. If you call me outside of 9 a.m. through 9 p.m., if anyone calls, and it's not a real urgent situation, I'll never take the phone calls again. How about that? Is that reasonable, Dr. Shealy?
Well, I don't take most phone calls. I get a minimum of a dozen of what I call junk phone calls a day. And my answering machine says, "Hi, this is Norm. Thanks for calling. If you're a friend, leave a message. If I do not know you, do not leave more than 2 sentences and a phone number which I may or may not call." And I would say 99% of the time the junk calls don't leave a message.
Okay.
I'm not interested in junk calls. I don't want to be dunned over the phone if I didn't invite somebody to call me.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you say done, are you talking about selling you storm doors, screen doors, roofing shingles, siding?
Well, that's what I call a junk. Any call from someone I don't know trying to sell me something or get me to donate to something is a junk call.
Yeah. Okay, well, class, about donating, I would suggest you consider not donating to any organized anything, whether it be a church or the policeman's rescue dog fund or whatever it is that they try to make you feel guilty about not contributing. If it's organized, I would suggest you don't do it, because I don't do it. I don't give to any churches, and I'm not going to, because they support things I don't like. I should probably clarify what I said about donating to organized not-for-profit corporations like churches. When I was growing up, there used to be a poor box in the rear of the Catholic Church, and so if you went into the church building, you could sit in a pew, and during the services or during Mass, a collection plate would be passed from person to person, collected and dumped in a basket at the end of the aisle by the usher, and those monies were used for we don't know what. But I can tell you that I object to my hard-earned money being used to pay off victims of abuse by priests. Okay? I didn't cause the abuse. I'm sorry that it happened, but so some of the money is actually going to hide the crimes by some of the, we'll call them employees of the church. And the poor boxes that used to hang on the walls in the church, who knows where that money went, but I do know that poor boxes were stolen right off the wall. They were screwed into the wall, and even the poor boxes were stolen, lock, stock, and barrel. So I don't give money to anyone or any organization unless it is direct one-on-one, where I know where 100% of what I offer goes to where I think it's going. So I'm talking about individuals, not corporations. Any comments, Dr. Shealy, about that?
I'm with you all the way.
Okay.
You know, I think
right.
I do a lot of charitable work, but I choose those which I respect and honor.
And that's exactly what I mean. I do the same, but I will not give to the United Way. I won't give to any organized not-for-profit corporation because I know that the money gets
you don't give
removed.
to Bill Gates?
No.
The number one
So
criminal in
maybe
the country.
Yes, I agree. That guy wants to reduce the population through immunizations. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, I dream of the day when he is hanged in public square.
Yeah, he's the first guy to sell a defective product in mass marketing a defective product for $89, price fixed. You couldn't buy it for any less anywhere. I'm talking about Windows. When it first came out, Microsoft Windows, you could buy it and it would be defective. And then you would upgrade to remove those or fix those defects. But you get new defects. Right. And so you get the next version and then more. And then not only that, but each time you got a new and improved set of defects with his newest version of Windows, you'd have to upgrade the processor, the central processing unit, and the memory, so that, and the hard drive to hold this new and improved bloated set of errors and bugs, that you'd have to keep upgrading and upgrading. And it was like an endless spiral. And now what happens is if you get on the internet and you don't have the latest and greatest operating system, operating environment, or browsers, your computer will hang because it's so bloated. And the internet, you know, we used to be able to run the internet on dial-up modems. No longer. There's so many ads and audio and video and commercials, advertisements. I mean, you can hardly get to where you're trying to go now, even if you have fast internet. And that's all because of the greed of the advertisers and the website. Well, Dr. Shealy, I mentioned that I see that we're having problems in society with me first, and I think a lot of it has to do with cell phones. Now, in New York State, there's a bill that's been introduced. The New York State Senate introduced a bill that will make it illegal to text while you're walking. Now, people are so stupid that they can't stay in one place and text. So they're walking into cars, they're being run over cars, they're walking through intersections without paying attention that there's traffic in front of them. They are confused. They're removed from reality by their cell phones. I saw the most stupid thing I've ever seen in my life. I saw these two young girls, and I thought, these young girls are queer. They're hanging all over each other. They're really close. They're side by side. I've never seen people walk like that in public. Young girls. But I was wrong. They weren't homosexuals. They were listening to music, but they only had one set of earbuds. So they had to be real close together so they could listen. Each one of them had one half of the headphone set. One had one in one ear, the other girl had it in the other. And they are walking through a parking lot, totally oblivious to everything around them because they were listening to, it must have been really great music. What I'm saying is, we are so distracted, we don't even know what's happening around us. We're taking our lives in our hands because of our own stupidity.
Well, the only good outcome of that is it does recycle them.
Yes. Yes, and you know, I was reading this story.
Not to have a law, get rid of them, let them get rid of themselves with stupid accidents.
Yeah, just have the garbage truck, you know, traveling the city streets and just load them in. Well, I was reading an article, and this was not in the United States. So the locals were throwing rocks at this mama elephant giving birth. So she's trying to give birth, having a real tough time, and then these local stupid people are throwing rocks at her. Well, she delivers the calf all by herself and has had it with these people throwing rocks at her. So she stomped one of them to death. Now, I was rooting for the elephant. The elephant won that one. I mean, really? You have to throw rocks at animals? Is that beyond dumb? Why would anybody do that? So it's not just here in the United States that people have lost their minds. It's all over the world.
It's because their IQ is so lowered because of fluoride.
Well, Dr. Shealy, seriously, how much of an impact do you think that fluoride really is? And well, I know you said it
I'm serious.
In jest, but I think
fluoride averages downing the IQ by 10 points. If the average IQ is 90, that means you're already stupid.
And if it's 80, if your IQ is 80 and you have fluoride, that brings you down to 70, and 70 is the point of incontinence.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to wet your pants at 70. So,
hey, there are worse things, I suppose, like texting.
Gosh. So anyway, in class in New York, if this bill becomes law and a person is texting and walking at the same time, you could be fined. It will become, well, I believe it's going to become illegal. That's how far we have fallen. There's an article that I was reading about the same topic, and it's on the Daily Mail, and it says, headline, "Can you master the digital detox challenge? A 7-day guide reveals how to reclaim your phone life balance, and it starts with deleting any unused applications on your phone." Goes on to say, recent studies showed millennials spend 2.5 hours on social media a day. 2.5 hours a day on social media. And this article says that research or survey finds that young people have poorer mental health due to their phones. I absolutely believe that. I believe it because they are addicted to seeing if people still like them, like every 2.5 minutes. I can tell you for a fact that I've been able to travel thousands of miles without a cell phone. Can you imagine? Driving in my car, my truck, I don't take a cell phone. You know, sometimes the family, Mrs. Finelli and I will go out and the boys will say, "So when are you coming back?" I'll say, "Well, let us know if you need anything because, we'll pick it up while we're out." "When are you coming back?" "Oh, about 7 o'clock, maybe 8 o'clock. It depends on, here's where we plan on going. And if we need to call you, we'll be able to find someone with a phone and we'll call you. But don't expect to hear from us because we think we're going to be okay." And Mrs. Finelli will say to our boys, "Well, you do know Dad knows how to change the tire, right? You do know." So that often used excuse for having a cell phone. Well, what if you have a flat tire? Well, I know how to change a tire. And you know what? So can everyone else. You can learn how to change a tire. And you have to buy a car that has a spare tire. So get one that has a spare tire. Don't buy one of these new ones that 28% of new cars don't have spare tires. That's beyond stupid. Well, Dr. Shealy, gallbladder flush. What do you think about a gallbladder flush?
Well, if you have small gallstones, it's fine. But I would not do a gallbladder flush unless I'd had an ultrasound of my gallbladder, because if they're big, if they're a centimeter, let's say, in size, or almost that even, it could block your gall duct and cause serious problems. So you want to be careful about doing the gallbladder flush unless you know what you're doing.
Okay. So from what I understand, there are people who do a gallbladder flush and they want to do it on a full moon. Is there a reason for that you're aware of?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the meaning.
Okay, there are people who recommend doing a gallbladder flush on a full moon. Do you have any thoughts
I don't know anything about full moon versus any other moon, but I do know you want to be careful not to do it unless you know you've got small on those stones.
Okay. All right. Dr. Shealy and I will be right back in just a couple minutes. We're having a commercial break. I guess that would be an interruption in our programming to pay the bills. We'll be right back. Dr. Shealy's with us. Dr. Shealy, I got a package in the mail, and I think these people thought that because I didn't have a cell phone, I was lonely. And so they spent $1.30 to send me this envelope with a window in it, and on the outside it says Internal Revenue Service. And in this package is my tax return, and it says request. Let me say it a different way. Request for signature or missing information to complete return. And it says your tax return doesn't show a valid signature. A photocopied signature is not a valid signature. Don't sign this form. Sign your name on the sign here signature lines. And then it says, if you signed in the wrong place, now that's the one that was circled, okay? If you signed in the wrong place on the return, sign your name in the sign here area of your return. So someone was kind enough to put this kind of like a removable, kind of like Scotch tape, except it's real wide, and it's greenish yellow. It says sign and date, and there's a big arrow that says exactly where I'm supposed to sign it. Now, I did sign it. But I crossed out the part where it says under penalty of perjury, I declare that I've examined, I crossed that out and I signed that. But I'm only partially in the box where it says your signature. So what I'm saying is there are people who really pay attention to us and want to make sure that we do exactly what they say. And I'm going to send this back and say, I did sign it. Please look very, very carefully, and you'll see that I did sign it.
I was hoping you sent it back to them.
I will. And you know,
thank you for bringing to my attention your perusal of my IRS form. I will inform the IRS that you have been snooping.
Yeah, but I got to tell you, it's absolutely unbearable the amount of stuff that the government wants us to do, the amount of information that they want. And the tax system is allegedly voluntary. So in one area of this green attachment, it says request for signature or missing information. And then in another area, it says we need more information. And then it says you must complete and send us all items asked for next to the boxes. So in one area, they say it's a request, then they say you must. They can't make up their minds. So anyway, the problem is it takes me a long time to understand. I'm sure that, maybe 6, 7, 8 iterations down the road, I will be better able to understand what they're trying to tell me. But right now, I'm not sure, because it sure looks like I did sign it in the area that they wanted me to. But I don't think I should cover up my signature with another signature, so I have to send it back. I just wanted to mention that to you, Dr. Shealy, that this is the kind of stuff that happens. This is the kind of stuff that they do. Is there anything else that you wanted to share with us today before we go into?
Oh, well, related to what you just sent, among other things, my son at Christmas sent me 2 packages of napkins on which are printed, Dear Karma, I have a long list of people you missed.
Life is just, it's too complex. Too many interruptions in what we are trying to do. There's this 7-day challenge about detoxifying from your cell phone. And I think people should consider doing it, But it seems kind of silly to me that someone had to write this long article about how to stop using your phone. 7 days. Day number 1, delete the apps that you never use and unsubscribe from unwanted emails. Unfollow all people on social media who you don't keep in touch with anymore, as you are more likely to compare yourself to the social media self and feel negative implications. Remember, people's social media is often a highlights reel. So that's day number 1, delete the apps. Tell you a little bit more when we come back. Hour number 2 of the USA Prepares with Dr. Norm Shealy. 7-day detox that you can participate in. Actually, you wouldn't have to. It would be people who you associate with. You might want to tell them, since obviously most of our class avoids cell phones at all costs. So day number 1, delete the apps you don't use and unsubscribe from unwanted emails. Can you imagine? Unsubscribe from unwanted emails. How do you get emails that you don't want anyway? Day number 2, turn off all the push notifications from your mobile phone so you're not distracted by your phone. And you can use the sleep mode or do not disturb mode, which will stop all of this information from lighting up your phone, distracting you. Day number 3, the moment you wake up, resist all urges to pick up the phone and start scrolling. Can you imagine that? People, first thing, let's check the phone. Why? Why? Day number 4, take your phone charging equipment out of your bedroom and place it in a different room. Well, we've been saying that for years if you have to have a cell phone. Day number 5, don't take your phone out with you on a trip today. Now, that's pretty serious withdrawal that you're going to experience for that, right? So don't take your phone with you. Go out and enjoy time with friends and family and feel the freeness of not needing to Instagram your coffee, Snapchat your walk, or check your emails. Day number 6, delete all social media apps from your phone for the day. Day number 7, switch off your phone. Put it in a drawer and forget about it for the whole day. I'll bet you most people can't do that. I'll bet you they can't. But I got to tell you, you really don't need a cell phone. You really don't need one. You just think you do. Any quick comments, Dr. Shealy?
Well, you and I agree on most things. However, I have an old-fashioned flip phone, which I carry with me turned off in case of emergency. I travel a lot. And people, maybe once or twice a year, someone wants me to call them, or they call me when I land so they can pick me up. But when I'm home, in case it isn't just a flat tire, other things happen to vehicles. And I want to be sure that if I have an emergency, I can call someone. But that's it. I don't use it. I never turn it on electively, and I charge it once a week, so it's always available.
Okay, I'm with you there. I really am. I really am. But see, I don't travel very much. I really don't want to go to the cities. I do not want to be in front of public groups speaking anymore. I just don't want to do it. So because of that, and I don't fly. I don't take the bus. Don't take the train. I don't go on ships. And so my travel, I'm in control of our travel because I'm behind the wheel, or Mrs. Finelli is, or one of our family. And I know the vehicles are pretty safe. Now, of course, someone could crash into us, yes, and there could be some problems. But because I don't travel, I don't have the need to have a cell phone to call me, call somebody to pick me up. And I don't have that concern. And I understand that you would, Dr. Shealy, because you do travel. But in my life, I don't travel, so I'm okay. I can, if I go to the post office and if my truck quits, I can always walk back home. It's only a couple miles. And somebody, would see me and stop and say, "I see you're walking. Why would you be walking?" And maybe they would give me a ride home, or maybe they'd say, "Do you need to use the phone?" Their phone. And I believe that in most cases, if I had a problem, I would be able to find a phone, or someone would stop by and they would let me use their phone, or they'd make a call for me. So my circumstances are a little different.
And I understand, and each of us has to make many, many, many decisions. To me, however, this particular one is one of the most important. And I really do think that having a cell phone on your body is absolutely one of the greatest errors. It's slightly worse than drinking an ounce of whiskey every hour.
Because of the electromagnetic radiation that we're being bombarded with?
Well, not just that. I mean, yes, that too, but the fact of expecting an alarm, if you will. I don't want to miss a call. Oh, come on. Who cares?
Well,
I don't
Dr.
think
Shealy,
you should be on alert for alarm 100% of the time.
And that was one of the things I wanted to talk to you about. And that is this nonstop adrenaline rush that some people have because of the occupations that they've chosen. So, for example, I was thinking about what it must be like in the emergency room as a doctor. Nonstop life or death, constant adrenaline, right? Taxi driver in New York City being cut off at every opportunity of another vehicle cutting the driver off nonstop, throughout the entire shift, and bus drivers and all of these high adrenaline type occupations. So my question, I was thinking about this last night. Does this nonstop adrenaline rush shorten a person's life?
Oh, I think so. Now, it'll take decades to ever prove that, but common sense says yes, unequivocal. Alarm is alarm. So I would say that average life expectancy of people who own constant alarm, if you will, with a cell phone, should be equal to smoking 1 or 2 packs of cigarettes a day.
Yeah. And I've got to tell you, I bought something that I never thought I would come home with that day. But last week, Mrs. Finelli and I decided that we would just take some time and buy some of the things that we thought we should get. And I bought a senior citizens swing set. Now, I happen to be at a junk store. It was it's where people get rid of things that they don't want, and then these not-for-profit organizations sell them. There's Goodwill, and there's the Restore, which is Habitat for Humanity. And somebody decided that they had this outdoor swing set, which was like 3 people could sit side by side, and gently swing. And I thought, I'd really like to get that and bring it home and spend some time with the cats and dogs and chickens on the veranda. So we happened to have the pickup truck, and it was very inexpensive. It was $45, and it had the cushions, and it was in great shape. So I said to Mrs. Finelli, what do you think? She said, yeah, let's get it. So we loaded it in the truck, and we came home with it. So that just sitting outside, spending some time outside with the animals, and the chickens come around, and the dogs sit at our feet, and the cats jump up on our lap. It's really relaxing and very pleasant. And you don't need to have a cell phone to do any of that. You really don't. So how important, Dr. Shealy, is that therapeutic device which I bought with Mrs. Finelli for $45? How important is that kind of relaxation in our lives? Is it important, or is it not necessary?
Oh, yeah. I think just letting go is important. And, by the way, watching TV is not letting go. I want to point out, a lot of people spend hours every day watching TV, something which I don't turn on. But just being at peace, in nature especially, is good for the body and the mind and the soul.
I was talking with Joey last night in Michigan, and I said, Joe, sometimes I like to just recline in a chair, look up at a 45-degree angle, and think about, look up at the sky. I'm not talking directly into the sun, but look up at the sky, look at the trees, look in the house, look up, and try to concentrate and think about how I can make things better whatever it is I'm working on, how can I make that project come out better? Or how can I do something better in the long run? Or what is the large picture, the overall thing that I'm trying to achieve? How can I do that better? And he said he does the same thing, but he closes his eyes. Dr. Shealy, is this something that you do as well? Try to concentrate. Do you have a way of concentrating on solving a problem the way I described?
It's what I call detaching. I repeat the basic phrases of autogenic training once or twice each phrase. My arms and legs are heavy and warm. My heart beats calm and regular. That one. And, within 1 minute, I'm totally detached and at peace.
And does that from that point, when you're detached and at peace, is that when you can concentrate on being inventive and innovative?
Oh, yeah. That frees my mind for, creativity, new thought, etc.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to see what your thoughts were, because Joey and I, it's very interesting that the inner circle of USA Prepares, the instructors, seem to have very many common threads where we have independently figured out things without talking, saying, let's solve this together. We've come to the same conclusions, the same results independently. I find it absolutely fascinating. I was reading an article, and this is just over the top. So there's this guy, and his name is Lamar Odom, Lamar Odom. Now, here's what the headline of this article says. Quote, "We ordered a giant rubber black," and I'm going to use a different word, "male penis to arrive the next day. Lamar," end quote. Lamar Odom reveals that he used a prosthetic penis filled with a trainer's urine to pass a drug test to make the 2004 Olympic men's basketball team. So this guy, this basketball player, said that he ordered a prosthetic male penis, same color as he is, black, filled with his trainer's urine, and so when he took the urine test, he used this prosthetic device that appeared to be his body filled with his trainer's urine, and he passed the test. He wanted to make sure that he was not discovered to be using drugs, which he had been using every day, according to his own admission. So here's a guy that used his trainer's urine in a phallus that he had in his pants, and he used it to fill up a cup for his urine sample, and he passed the drug test because his trainer was not a drug user, but the ball player, Lamar Odom, was. This is the length at which people will try to deceive other people. And now, with, I don't know how much intelligence this takes, but this guy is now telling everybody that he did it. So, he should be disqualified.
His trainer is equally culpable if he gave it to him for that purpose.
Correct. They did it together. They did it together for that purpose. So what I'm saying, Dr. Shealy, is there's a lot of lying, cheating, stealing, and obfuscation that's going on in the world. So there are people who we may be looking at in the media thinking, boy, these guys are great. And actually, they're not great. Their morals are absent. Now, this guy is willing to do anything. He's not willing to stop his drugs. He's not willing to put down drugs so he can be playing Olympics. He's willing to put the entire team at jeopardy because he's high all the time. And he can't stop because he is greedy and stupid.
But in my opinion, we need a new form of punishment for those. It's called caning in Singapore. I think we should cane people like that in public square. And then, of course, we start with Bill Gates, but that's another story.
Yeah. And what about guys like Senator Roy Blunt, who has protected Monsanto from being prosecuted for all these years?
I'd go a little bit further than caning in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be called castration.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, it'd be nice if people like that didn't create others of the same ilk. That'd be kind of nice. But I just wanted to share that story about Lamar Odom, famous guy married to Khloe Kardashian, who is eternally looking for different ways of bending over to get photos of her in the media so she can keep in the public eye. Dr. Shealy, there's a food company called Impossible Foods. It's now valued at $2 million, and they are in cahoots with fast food restaurant companies, to make non-beef, I don't know what you'd call them. You can't call them hamburgers because they're not, I guess they look like hamburgers. What do you think about, yeah. What do you think about lying to your body? Because right now, if I were to have a hamburger in my hand, my body would know visually, through smell, texture, taste, all of that, my body would be expecting beef, ground beef. But it would not be expecting something that is not ground beef in my digestive system. When we fake out our digestive systems, like if we want something sweet, but we give our bodies like sucralose or saccharin or one of these artificial sweeteners, is that similar, that faking out of the body, is that similar to what we will be doing by ingesting these synthetic hamburgers?
Not quite the same, because sucralose actually is as toxic as sugar. Saccharin, metza. Sugar actually is not a good food, so it's not a good one to compare. But fake is fake.
Okay, so what I'm saying is, does our mind, is our brain looking at this hamburger, thinking that it's supposed to be a real hamburger, getting ready to digest a real hamburger and process it in a specific way, as our body would normally digest a hamburger, and now we give it something fake? How does that mess us up? Does it or doesn't it?
Well, my suspicion is it would mess up your intestinal system more than your mind.
Dr. Norman Shealy is with us, medical doctor. Website is normshealy.com, NORMSHEALY.com. Dr. Shealy, Impossible Foods was founded not even a decade ago, 2011, by a guy named Pat Brown, a Stanford University biochemistry professor. And the company is targeting eliminating the need for animals in the food chain by the year 2035. And it will be adding a production line in California. Already has one there. It's adding another one. And they say that their sales are going up in Asia, where the substitute for food, this impossible product, is being used instead of traditional meat. And Impossible Foods has, according to this article in Zero Hedge, both Impossible Foods and Beyond Meat, another company, have based their meat substitutes on molecular science using cells that mimic animal protein using plant nutrients. The companies both claim that their products have the same taste and texture as beef. The products even bleed like regular hamburgers, except the blood is a protein contained through genetic engineering in Impossible's burgers. And they say that they're having trouble meeting the demand for the product. I just can't believe. If someone said, hey, you want to invest in this, it sounds great. We're going to make a product called the Impossible Whopper, and we're not going to use meat in it. It's just going to look like meat. It's going to bleed like meat, but it's not going to be meat. What do you think? You want to invest? I'd say, what, are you crazy? So, Dr. Shealy, medical concerns about imitating real beef?
Well,
do you see
it's
that?
fake, and that means it's bad. There's no way that they can make it the same quality of nutrition as a meat product. Now, there are certain things in meat that you can't fake. One of those is, well, no vegetable plant of any kind makes taurine, the most common amino acid in your human body. Now, suppose they could put fake taurine into it, but, it's crazy. It's maybe worse than a cell phone.
Seems to me that, all of these phony, fake, synthetic products come around to bite us later on. Plastic was really great, but we misused it. We overpackaged with it. We dump it in the oceans. The animals are eating it. It's even in the Mariana Trench at the lowest point in the ocean. It's already reached there. We're destroying the planet. We're doing stupid things, and it's even killing nature. We cut down the forest. We over-fertilize. There are dead zones in the ocean. And I've been talking about this with you for years, Dr. Shealy. Where are the birds? Where'd they go? We hardly have them. Think about that, class. When you were younger.
Insects? Remember, insects are dying off.
Yes, and the insects are the feed for the birds. So it used to be that you would drive along and your windshield would be pelted with insects. I mean, you'd have to scrape them off. Now that's not quite the case. The bees hardly have bees around here anymore. Hardly have any flies around here anymore. Hardly have any insects. Hardly have any birds. We are absolutely seeing the decline of nature. So right now, it looks like the insect population is way, way, way down. Now it's kind of nice having fewer ticks, but we still have them. But now our chickens are having a tough time finding enough bugs to eat. They've got to find other things to eat, so we have to supplement their food so that they can continue living. Before, they used to have a lot of fun just eating all these bugs, and it was great, but there aren't that many bugs anymore. And I really believe that it's partially cell towers, microwaves, and insecticides.
And don't forget Roundup, yes.
Yes. So we've made it very difficult for wildlife to live, which eventually is going to come to bite us because we're at the top of the food chain. So we depend on those below us in the food.
Whether we kill off the rest of the world's stuff other than people, or we kill off ourselves by not being able to reproduce, we're poisoned on both sides.
And I see so many stupid people. I was talking with one of our instructors who has a television, and they were watching the news, Fox News, and they told me about some commercials that they saw. One was for Roundup, and you can get it. You can get this Roundup, and you can clean up your lawn. And I would be livid if I had a neighbor, if I lived in a development or an area where everybody had a third of an acre, a quarter of an acre, half an acre, an acre, and my neighbor were spreading Roundup on their front lawn and their back lawn, their side lawn. I'd be livid. Like, what a jerk. Why would he do that? Because if you have about an acre, you probably have your own well. And that Roundup would be poisoning your well. Why would people do that? Why? Because they watched a commercial and they need to be envious of their neighbor who might have a nice lawn? How stupid can people get? How can they think that you can kill plant life and have it still be good? It only kills certain things. How could it not kill other things? How can people be so stupid as to not understand that? I don't get it, Dr. Shealy.
You can't
I don't get it. But
well, you cannot understand ignorance. Ignorance is ignoring fact. It's even worse than stupidity.
And yet, radio stations and television stations, through their own individual greed for profits, more money, will air commercials that will allow the poisoning of the planet. How could they be so dumb? How? How can they be so greedy as to allow that? But they do. They do. It's on radio, it's on TV, it's in the print. It's irresponsible.
Well, it's actually
Dr.
immoral.
Shealy, it is immoral. It is immoral for a person to use insecticides on their lawns and herbicides on their lawns that runs downhill with the next rain, that gets into the water supply for everybody. To do that is absolutely immoral. So, as Janet Reno said, if you see something, say something. Now, what would happen if, now, let's talk about this for a second, class. So, you see a neighbor just down the road in your development applying insecticide on his lawn, and you call 911. And you say, the Jones family, I see him, he's out there right now. Come right now, because he is applying insecticide, and he's going to be killing frogs and snails and worms and
people,
rabbits and people. I want you to arrest him right now, because he's killing life on the planet. What would happen if you did that, class? Would the police laugh at you?
Yes. Well, if
Would
they were
they laugh at you?
they wouldn't respond anyway. They don't even respond to real crime in this city very well. You know, We had break-ins 3 times at our clinic. On the third occasion, Lindy was sitting out in the parking lot for 90 minutes before the police came. She's afraid to come in the building, of course. And by the time the police finally came, the robber was gone. Now, the robber, we finally got caught through our own cameras and found out who it was. And that was a year ago, and he's still out of jail. They're postponing his trial. So, in my opinion, the police system of Springfield, Missouri, has got to be one of the worst in the world.
You know, it'd be really neat.
Maybe it's as bad as the utility.
You know, it'd be really neat if your business partner, Dr. Sergei Sorin, was there when this happened. He would. The second thing he would have to do is resuscitate the criminal, right?
You know, interesting. And this stupid criminal, when he was caught, said he didn't know what he'd done because he was too drunk to remember.
Really?
And he's still out of jail.
Really? I'll have to remember that. Gosh. Really? And that worked? He was too drunk to remember? Class, if you don't know, Dr. Sergei Sorin is an emergency room doctor, and he is a mixed martial arts practitioner. So I can see the blood all over right now. Jeez. Dr. Shealy, there have been a lot of shootings in the United States, and they are, most of the shootings, as I've learned, about 97% of gun violence is in gun-free zones. Actually, 97.8% of public shootings, according to the Crime Prevention Research Center, 97.8% of public shootings occur in gun-free zones. But what is the cause of all of this extreme violence? Just walking into a school and just shooting. Do you think it is because of the medically prescribed drugs that so many people are on, like antidepressants, SSRIs, Prozac? What do you think, Valium? Can we discuss that when we come back, Dr. Shealy? Because
of course.
it really, people are unhappy. They're really unhappy. And I think we should discuss why they're unhappy, why they've been prescribed these medications, and what they should do about it. Dr. Norman Shealy is with us. Dr. Shealy, what phone number would you like our class to call should they want to make an appointment at your office in Springfield, Missouri?
417-351-5221.
417-351-5221, class, is Dr. Shealy's clinic telephone number.
Ben,
so we're talking about, yes.
Can I mention my new research project on telomeres?
Oh, please do. Please do.
We have a small but definite research project on regrowing your telomeres, which, of course, extends life and health. And it's very safe, and you have to be 55 years or older and not on any drugs. I don't want drugs confounding the results. So if anybody's interested, just call that number, 351-5221.
Okay, class, 417-351-5221. And also, please visit Ron Gibson's channel on YouTube so that you can learn about the dangers of fluoride. Take just a couple minutes to listen to it, and it'll be under USA Prepares on the Ron Gibson channel. And I'm going to ask him to make a special audio just for that. So I'll be sending that to him in just a few minutes. Dr. Shealy, depression, sadness, anxiety, feeling hopeless, worthless, feeling helpless, feeling empty, feeling guilty, feeling irritable, fatigue, lack of energy, loss of interest in hobbies, slow talking and moving, restlessness, trouble concentrating, having problems sleeping or getting too much or not enough, abnormal weight changes, either eating too much or not having an appetite, thoughts of death or suicide related to SSRIs. What are your thoughts? And anger and these violent outbursts?
Every mood drug that has ever been introduced, I suppose maybe barbiturates were one of the early ones, every one of them is actually poison. Not one of them cures depression or anxiety. They may help some people, but they don't cure it. And they actually lead to increased suicide. Every person who takes any antidepressant drug actually increases his or her risk of committing suicide. That alone is enough to stop that nonsense.
So, as far as I can tell, the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, has approved a variety of SSRIs, including the brand names like Celexa, Lexapro, Prozac, Paxil, Paxiva, Zoloft, and Vibrid. Those are the names that you might know, and they've been approved. So, Dr. Shealy, you're saying that they could alleviate some of the symptoms, but they don't cure anything.
They don't cure it, and they increase the risk of you killing yourself. And, of course, in every single vast murder that has taken place, with maybe one exception, but they lead to increased mass murder. The people committing those crimes are often on these mood drugs.
And so why is not the pharmaceutical company that manufactured that drug on trial for mass murder?
Well, they should be, but then the FDA is in the pocketbook of the pharmacomafia. I wouldn't trust the FDA to tell me that air was clean.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what I understand that these drugs can cause is agitation and restlessness and anxiety and disorientation, excitement, confusion. I mean, those are not things I want to have happen to me. Panic attacks, hostility. These are things that happen as a result of these drugs. Isn't that right?
That is correct.
And so, class, if you know of people who are on these drugs, why don't you have them do some research? Why don't you do some research about the complications and see if you think it's really worth it? Now, Dr. Shealy, do you need to wean off these drugs, or can you just go cold turkey?
You have to be careful because You can really have serious trouble if you wean too fast.
Okay. So
Including
should they?
epilepsy, etc.
And so what do you do, Dr. Shealy? Because doctors have prescribed these drugs. Do you go to your doctor and say, I want you to unprescribe them?
Well, most doctors won't, but they can always come to a holistic physician and get weaned safely and more effectively.
Yeah, 417-351-5221. Thanks so much, Dr. Shealy.